Hi everyone, welcome back. I hope you're all taking care of yourselves and having a safe week. Today, we are stepping into the absolute blueprint of modern American true crime. A cold case that didn't just terrorize a generation, but fundamentally changed the relationship between law enforcement, the media, and the public. We often look at cases where a killer tries to hide in the shadows, covering their tracks and running from the law. But what happens when the predator actively demands the spotlight? What happens when a monster treats a major metropolitan area like a personal theater, sending encoded taunts to the press and explicitly turning his crimes into a public game where the stakes are human lives? This is the deeply unsettling, enduring riddle of the Zodiac Killer. The terror officially crackled to life in the late 1960s across the quiet, suburban landscape of Northern California. It began on December 20th, 1968, when two high school students, David Faraday and Betty Lou Jensen, were brutally targeted while parked on a secluded lover's lane on Lake Herman Road. There were no witnesses, no obvious motives, and no initial leads. 6 months later, on July 4th, 1969, another young couple, Michael Mageau and Darlene Farron, were fired upon inside their car at Blue Rock Springs Park, just miles away. Michael miraculously survived the attack, but Darlene's life was tragically cut short. But it was what happened exactly 40 minutes after those late-night gunshots that changed everything. The rotary phone inside the Vallejo Police Department rang. A man spoke in a chilling, completely calm, and monotone voice, stating, "I want to report a double murder. If you will go 1 mile east, you will find kids in a brown car. They were shot with a 9mm Luger. I also killed those kids last year. Goodbye." The Shadow had officially stepped to the microphone. By August 1969, the entity operating in the Bay Area decided that telephone calls weren't enough. He wanted to see his words in print. 3 identical letters arrived at the editorial desks of the San Francisco Chronicle, the San Francisco Examiner, and the Vallejo Times-Herald. The letters were deeply terrifying, filled with a jagged, erratic handwriting that demanded his words be printed on the front page of every paper, where he would cruise the streets all weekend slaughtering solitary people in the night. Each letter contained 1/3 of a massive, complex 408-character cryptogram. He claimed that if the public and the cryptanalysts could crack the cipher, his true identity would be revealed. The letters were signed with a chilling, hand-drawn symbol that would become a universal mark of terror. A simple circle with a cross superimposed over it, the crosshairs of a gun sight. For the first time, a serial predator had effectively hijacked the printing presses of a major city, using the media as a megaphone to bypass the police and speak directly to a paralyzed public. Neighbors began locking doors, keeping children inside after dusk, and staring suspiciously at every passing headlights, realizing that anyone could be a target for a madman who openly claimed he was collecting slaves for the afterlife. While amateur codebreakers successfully cracked that first 408 cipher days later, revealing a twisted, rambling manifesto but absolutely no name, the killer's methodology reached a terrifying, chaotic climax in the autumn of 1969. Up until this point, he had strictly targeted young couples in isolated, rural lovers' lanes. But on October 11th, 1969, he walked straight into the heart of San Francisco. A 29-year-old cab driver named Paul Stein picked up a passenger in downtown San Francisco and drove him to the affluent, quiet neighborhood of Presidio Heights. As the cab pulled up to the intersection of Washington and Cherry Streets, the passenger drew a firearm and fired a single shot into the back of Paul's head, killing him instantly. 3 teenage witnesses looking out a window across the street saw a heavy-set man in a dark jacket calmly wiping down the interior of the cab before walking into the dark fog toward the Presidio Park lines. Due to a tragic miscommunication on the police radio frequencies, responding patrol cars were looking for a black suspect instead of a white male, allowing the killer to walk right past responding officers in the dark. Days later, a letter arrived at the Chronicle containing a blood-soaked piece of Paul Stein's shirt, along with a terrifying threat to target a school bus full of children, proving that the Phantom could strike anywhere, at any time, completely unhindered by the law. Decades marched on, and the active trail grew completely cold. The letters stopped arriving in 1974, but the case files remained an open, bleeding wound for Northern California. The Zodiac had claimed to have killed a staggering 37 people, though law enforcement could only definitively verify 5 tragic homicides. He became an urban legend, a ghost frozen in a forensic sketch. But the mystery reached a massive, historic breakthrough in December 2020, driven not by traditional law enforcement, but by a global team of amateur codebreakers. For 51 long years, the killer's most famous and complex puzzle, the 340 cipher, had completely stumped the FBI's elite cryptographic units. A software engineer from Australia named David Ornchak, working alongside a mathematician from Belgium and a computer programmer from the US, spent over a decade writing custom code to analyze the symbols. In late 2020, their algorithms successfully unlocked the transposition pattern. The decoded message sent a massive shiver through the true crime community. It read, "I hope you are having lots of fun and try and catch me. I am not afraid of the gas chamber, because it will send me to paradise all the sooner because I now have enough slaves to work for me." The cipher was officially broken, proving the absolute authenticity of his madness. But the ultimate prize remained missing. The ghost had kept his name locked in the dark. Today, the San Francisco Police Department, the Vallejo Police, and the FBI maintain the Zodiac case file as an open, active, and high-priority investigation. Decades after the terror subsided, the hunt has transitioned from dusty file cabinets into the cutting-edge frontier of modern molecular biology. Independent investigators, forensic genealogists, and cold case units are actively utilizing investigative genetic genealogy, the exact same technology that unmasked the Golden State Killer and solved the Gilgo Beach murders. They are carefully extracting microscopic, partial DNA profiles from the back areas of the stamps and envelope flaps that the killer licked 50 years ago, running them against vast public ancestry databases to locate a familial match. The ultimate victory in this case will not be the sensationalism of his games or the complexity of his codes, but the definitive unmasking of his identity. It is a race against time to bring final, absolute closure to the families of David, Betty Lou, Darlene, Cecilia, and Paul. By continuing to speak their names, analyze the timelines, and push the boundaries of technology, we ensure that a supervillain persona can never fully obscure the real-world tragedy he created, and that justice will eventually find its mark. I want to know what you guys think about this legendary cold case. Do you believe that modern genetic genealogy will finally unmask the true name behind the crosshairs, or has the passage of time permanently hidden the identity of the Bay Area fandom? Let's talk about it down in the comments below, and please keep the discussion deeply respectful of the victims and their surviving families. Thank you so much for watching. Take care of yourselves, look out for one another, and I'll see you in the next deep dive. Bye.